History is not just a chronicle of dates and names. It is the silent witness to a world that has changed forever. A bullet. The cause of 20 million deaths. From the innocent faces of men marching to war to the haunting landscapes they left behind, this is the story of the Great War, told through one image after another. Welcome to Antique Visions. The British Expeditionary Force on the Western Front, 1914 to 1915, in the summer of 1914, these men left home with the promise they'd be back by Christmas. They couldn't have known the 4 long years of unimaginable sacrifice ahead. London Opinion, Your Country Needs You, /Alfred Leet. This iconic poster became the voice of a nation, a powerful call that convinced a generation of young men to join a conflict that would define their lives. Ferdinand Schmutzer, Franz Ferdinand von Österreich-Este, 1914, a single assassination in Sarajevo lit a fuse. The death of this Archduke plunged a continent into a war of tangled alliances and old grudges. Newspaper coverage of the assassination, 1914, the world watched in stunned disbelief as newspapers screamed the headlines. Few could comprehend that this one act would shatter the peace of a century. Troops boarding trains / mobilization, 1914, across Europe, soldiers said their goodbyes. Each train carried not just men, but the hopes and fears of an entire generation, forever altered by the call to arms. Map of Europe in 1914 showing alliances. Look at this map, a spiderweb of treaties and alliances. A local conflict in the Balkans quickly became a world war, drawing every major power into its deadly embrace. British troops landing to assist Japanese troops in capturing Tsingtao from Germany, 1914, this was a truly global conflict. From the mud of Europe to the shores of China, the fighting spread, proving that no corner of the world was untouched. Invaded Belgium has kept its sang-froid. Belgian forces in Liège. August 1914, against all odds, tiny Belgium stood its ground. Their heroic resistance against the German advance bought the Allies precious time, forever earning them a place in history. William Lester King. No Man's Land, Flanders Field, France, 1919, this is not just land, it's a graveyard. No Man's Land was a barren, brutal expanse of mud and craters, where every inch was paid for in blood. British soldiers in a trench, life was measured in inches here. This muddy trench was home, a cold, dangerous place where men found strength in each other, fighting for survival one moment at a time. Soldiers writing letters in trenches, 1914, in quiet moments, a pen became a lifeline. These letters home were a way to hold on to the world they'd left behind, to whisper, "I'm still here," to those they loved. Flooded / muddy communication trench, World War I, the constant rain turned the trenches into a living hell. Mud and disease were as deadly as any weapon, grinding soldiers down physically and mentally. General view of the battlefield of Beaumont Hamel showing the blasted land, 1916, the Battle of the Somme, a name synonymous with futility. This moonscape shows the staggering cost of a single offensive, a sacrifice that haunts the earth even today. Soldiers drill in their gas masks during World War I, as the war raged, new horrors emerged. Poison gas, a silent killer, forced a new kind of terror upon soldiers, a horrifying threat that lurked in the wind. British Mark I mail tank Somme September 25, 1916, the war was a factory of invention. The tank, a lumbering metal beast, was designed to break the stalemate, forever changing the face of ground warfare. Mark I series tank in action, the first tanks were clumsy, but they were a terrifying new force. They shattered the illusion that the war would be won by men alone and brought a new level of shock to the battlefield. Fighter aircraft, Sopwith Camel / Fokker Dr. I, above the trenches, a new kind of night sword. Fighter pilots dueled in the skies, turning the air itself into a brutal theater of war and heroism. The crew of a German UC-1 class submarine on deck, World War I, beneath the waves, a silent war was waged. Submarines hunted unseen, their attacks on supply ships a desperate attempt to starve an enemy into submission. Women working in the munitions industry during the First World War, with men at the front, women stepped up. They became the industrial backbone of the war, working in dangerous factories to build the weapons that would secure victory. Nurse writing a letter home for a wounded American soldier at the American Military Hospital No. 1, Neuilly, back from the front, nurses were the front line of compassion. They treated the physical wounds and comforted broken spirits, a quiet but powerful testament to the healing power of care. Refugees from Belgium in Paris, 1914, innocent civilians were caught in the crossfire. Families were torn apart, forced to flee their homes, carrying only what they could, their lives forever changed by the brutality of war. Church of Versailles, Somme Department, France, during or after the Battle of the Somme, 1916, this war didn't just destroy lives, it tore at the very fabric of society. Buildings that had stood for centuries were reduced to rubble, a grim symbol of a world turned upside down. Wounded Australian soldiers being carried on a stretcher by medical personnel, the wounds of this war were unlike any before. Men came back with injuries that defied comprehension, forever scarred by the brutal reality of machine gun fire and explosions. British, French and Italian wounded soldiers in a group, as cheery as ever, yet, amid the suffering, a spirit of resilience and camaraderie endured. These men, though wounded, still found a way to share a laugh, holding on to the one thing the war could never take, their humanity. Column of American troops passing Buckingham Palace, London, 1917, after years of neutrality, a new force arrived. The entry of American troops brought fresh hope and a surge of energy to a tired and broken Allied war effort. Training camp activities. Bayonet fighting instruction by an English sergeant major, Camp Dick, Texas. Young American men were trained by seasoned European veterans, learning the brutal, up-close reality of trench warfare in preparation for a fight they were about to join. Americans receiving machine gun instruction from British instructor. Near Meaux, France. May 22, 1918, new technology demanded new skills. American soldiers learned to master the tools of modern combat, the machine guns that would help turn the tide on the Western Front. Armistice Day celebrations, Paris, November 11, 1918, the silence came at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. Joy erupted in the streets, a collective, sobbing sigh of relief for a nightmare finally over. Treaty of Versailles signing, Hall of Mirrors, in the very hall where Germany was unified, a new peace was forged. The Treaty of Versailles was a peace built on punishment, a prelude to a future that would be anything but peaceful. Delegates at the League of Nations, post-war diplomacy/Geneva leaders came together, determined to prevent another world war. The League of Nations was born from a shared belief that diplomacy could triumph over destruction, though its promise would prove short-lived. Thousands of graves of British and Commonwealth soldiers at the Tyne-Cot Cemetery in Belgium, the true cost of the war is seen here. Row after row of crosses and headstones, a silent, powerful testament to a generation lost to history. In Flanders Fields, 1921, John McCrae's poem became the anthem of remembrance. The red poppies became a symbol of the blood spilled and the solemn promise to never forget the sacrifice. World War I amputees at Walter Reed, 1918, the war ended for the world, but not for them. Veterans returned home, carrying visible and invisible scars, a lifelong struggle with the war's physical and psychological toll. Victory Parade at Whitehall, London, American troops going past the cenotaph, July 19, 1919, the parades were grand, but the cheers were mixed with sorrow. The war was over, but the grief and profound loss would echo through generations to come. Illustrated London News, Christmas Truce 1914, on a cold Christmas morning, enemies became friends. For a brief, shining moment, a football game replaced the roar of cannons, proving that even in the darkest of times, our shared humanity can break through. Propaganda, I want you for U.S. Army/James Montgomery flag. 1917, this iconic image became the face of a nation's call to arms. It was a powerful tool that rallied support for the war effort, a masterclass in psychological warfare. Landscapes of the Western Front, 1914 to 1918, the war irrevocably scarred the land itself. The Western Front remains a landscape of memory, with craters and unexploded shells still telling the story of the battles fought. Military Cemetery, Tyne Cot, we end where the story is told most clearly. In these silent fields, the past is not forgotten. It is preserved as a powerful reminder of a world that learned a terrible lesson. They gave us a century of peace, purchased with their lives. Lest we forget. If their story moved you, honor their memory. Subscribe to Antique Visions for more journeys into the past.